Jiro is a spineless virgin who doesn't have the balls to confess to his childhood crush. However, when he is forced into a fake marriage with the school's hottest girl, she promises to help him bag his crush, but they end up falling in love with each other instead. It all starts when a baddie named Akari is praying to the plot gods to send a 6-foot alpha male to crack her. Turns out, their school has an exam in which a boy and a girl move in together to live as a married couple, and while others are freaking out about it, Jiro and his friend Kamo are indifferent because they are thirsting over their 2D anime waifus. Just then, Akari rolls up with her gang and rudely tells the losers to stop blocking the stairs. As they move away, Kamo wishes Akari would let him sniff her armpits, but Jiro says he hates girls who dress like hoes and act so bratty. Just then, the school's Prince Charming, Minami, walks by, and Akari immediately turns into a pick-me-thought just to impress him. Seeing this makes Jiro hate her even more, but before he can say anything, the bell rings, and he's forced to return to the class. There, his seat neighbor Shiori asks him if he's ready for his marriage practical, not knowing that bro is pissing his pants because she's the only girl he can talk to. Turns out they're childhood friends, and Shiori is also Jiro's first love. But he's given up on it since he thinks she's too good for him. Just then, the teacher explains that every pair will be given a separate apartment for the practical, where their activities and vitals will be monitored to give them scores. On top of that, they will have their own bedroom that will only unlock with their fingerprint, so they don't accidentally add to the world's population. Seeing this, Jiro secretly wishes to be paired with Shiori, but he quickly brushes it off because he doesn't want to let his feelings ruin their friendship. Soon after, he heads to the new apartment and is bummed to learn that he's paired with Akari, and she is not too happy with the pairing either. As they settle in, Jiro admits to her that he had someone else in mind, and Akari immediately guesses he wanted Shiori. Jiro's reaction tells her everything she needs to know, so she mocks him by saying Shiori will never let a loser like him crack her. She even teases him by saying Shiroi must be getting freaky with some other dude as they speak, so Jiro tells her to shut her mouth. This causes their score to drop, which pisses Akari off so much that she grabs him by the collar and demands that he act right with her. She says she wants an A grade in this practical, and when Jiro learns that it's possible to change partners with other A-grade students, he agrees to do it so he can be with Shiori. However, getting all cozy with another chick makes him blush like a true virgin, and Akari uses this chance to tease him even more. This causes their points to go up, but bro is so heated that he heads out to buy a drink. After he leaves, Akari drops her hoe act and starts to tear up, vowing that she won't let anyone steal Minami from her. Meanwhile, Jiro is outside when he sees that Minami and Shiro have been paired together, and unlike him and Akari, those two are already getting along. This breaks Jiro's heart, so he runs back to the apartment to sulk, while Akari cringes over his depressed face. However, she decides to act kind and cute with him, encouraging him to do the same, so they can get what they want. Jiro gets flustered because, like you, no woman has even touched him, even with a 10-foot pole, but luckily, Kamo rings the doorbell and saves him from it. Jiro is about to leave to hang out with Kamo, but Akari demands that he give her a goodbye kiss like a proper husband, which makes him nervous. In all that chaos, Jiro moves without thinking and actually kisses Akari on the lips. After he heads out, Akari falls to her knees, feeling moist in her nether region as she never expected a virgin like Jiro to go straight for her lips. The next day, Jiro dreams about Shiroi as his wife, waking him up for breakfast. He refuses to get up unless she kisses him, but Shiori suddenly starts banging her head against him. When he wakes up, he sees Akari telling him to stop being a dog in heat and make himself useful by helping her with breakfast. A week later, Jiro sees Shiori and Minami walking together, and when she suddenly grabs Minami's arm, it makes Jiro miserable. Just then, his teacher arrives and asks him to meet her in the office later. After school, he meets the teacher by himself, who tells him his points are still 0 after a week, and he won't graduate if he fails this practical. After the meeting, he's waiting for the rain to stop when Shiori sits beside him, only to latch onto his arm. Turns out, she saw a bug that startled her, and when she mentions it happened earlier today too, Jiro finally realizes why she grabbed Minami's arm. Suddenly, she starts acting cute with him, and Jiro starts to get nervous, thinking she's dropping hints. Before he can do something, Minami arrives with an umbrella for Shiori, so Jiro asks her to go with him, not knowing that Akari is listening too. Afterward, as he's sulking alone, Akari arrives with her umbrella and offers to walk home with him. On the way, she notices that bro is acting like his cat died and scolds him for giving up so soon. Jiro apologizes and promises to do his best, so once they reach home, she cooks a delicious omurice and even draws a heart with sauce to make Jiro feel better. This makes Jiro's heart race, but since he promised not to give up, he offers to feed her with his own hands. Akari leans over to take a bite, But when she looks up and sees his face from up close, she almost leans closer to kiss him. Luckily, Jiro gets a call from Kamo and heads into his room. But they both find themselves extremely flustered and wonder if they have feelings for each other. That night, Jiro dreams of Shiori knocking on his door, and when he opens it, she immediately hugs him, saying that she's alone and wants him to stay with her. Jiro agrees to it and leans in to kiss her, but just then, Akari starts knocking on his door and wakes him up. She then leans into him and asks him to stay with her for tonight, leaving him confused and flustered. Later, the two of them watch a horror movie, and when Jiro asks why they're doing this, she says it will help them get a lot of points. Jiro believes it won't work and turns off the movie until she reminds him that they have to reach A rank so they can swap partners. She even shows him a pair of night suits and urges him to try them on, as merely wearing them will grant them points. Jiro is shocked that she spent her own money on this, making him wonder if she has some ulterior motive. Just then, she asks him to look away so she can change. So Jiro tries to match her energy by also changing in the living room. In the middle of it, the light goes out, and when the lightning strikes, Akari jumps on him in fear. When he feels her soft cushions pressing against him, he grabs his phone and turns the flashlight on, only to see tears in her eyes. She forces him to turn the flashlight off and calls him stupid while pulling his hair. Afterward, Jiro notices that they can't get into their room unless the power comes back on, so Akari begs him to stay by her side because she's scared of the dark. Jiro agrees to sit with her, but he gets flustered when she sits awfully close to him. She even asks him to tell her a fun story, but when he hesitates, she says he'll never get laid if he doesn't know how to talk to a girl. At this, Jiro tells him a story about a well that was possessed by a ghost, only to see that Akari has covered her ears because she's scared. Seeing this, Jiro apologizes, saying he was just teasing her, but Akari calls him some nasty things and adds that Minami would never do that to her. As Jiro apologizes, she places her hand on his and says he's the only one around her, so it's only natural for her to depend on him for moral and oral support. Jiro is so flustered that he jumps back to hide his face, and he can't understand why Akari suddenly acts like a cutie while acting like a brat other times. Just then, Akari pulls out a scented candle she got from her friend, Natsumi, and soon after, the whole apartment starts to smell like flowers. As the moon sets in, Jiro looks at Akari's adorable face and suddenly hugs her, telling her that she's pretty cute when she's not being a jerk. Suddenly, he realizes that he got lost in the sauce and pulls back, only to be relieved when he sees that Akari has fallen asleep. He once again notes that she's really cute, and watching horror movies, even though she hates them, must have worn her out. He then gently holds her hand and falls asleep as she rests on his shoulder. Unbeknownst to him, she was pretending to be asleep and heard everything he said. A few days later, Jiro is shocked to learn that he and Akari have scored a lot of points, which brings him a step closer to Shiori. However, his world falls apart when Akari points out that Minami and Shiori are one of the lowest-rated couples on the list. For the next few days, Jiro keeps wondering what happened between them, but he's too scared to ask. One day, Jiro falls sick, but instead of taking care of him to rack up points, Akari decides to hang out with her hose. Just then, the bell rings, and it's Shiori who's come to check up on him. Meanwhile, Akari is in a cafe with the girls, but they notice that she's distracted and ask if she's worried about Jiro. Just then, Natsumi mentions that this cake is called the Prince's Kiss because its texture is similar to lips. This reminds Akari of the time Jiro kissed her, and this makes her extremely flustered. Back in the apartment, Jiro thanks her for coming to check up on him, and Shiori reveals it was actually Akari who asked her to come. Either way, Jiro is extremely happy to have his first love in his room. Shiroi then recalls how he once nursed her to health when she fell sick, and now it's her turn to help him. As she puts a cold compress on his forehead, Jiro's fever shoots up because she looks even cuter up close. She then puts on an apron and heads to the kitchen to make him some food. In the meantime, Jiro recalls the day he wanted to confess to her because she was getting transferred to a different school. However, when she asked him if he'd stay her friend even if they were apart, he lost his confidence and agreed to stay as her friend. While he's lost in thought, Shiori returns with a rice porridge, and Bro chugs it down immediately, deeming it the best thing he's eaten in his entire life. Shiori is glad to see that he can eat on his own, and this makes him realize that she had planned to feed him with her own hands. After finishing the bowl, Jiro mentions that Minami is lucky to eat her cooking every day, and Shiori mentions that they actually take turns cooking. Jiro then mentions her low ranking, and offers to help her if she needs, though he knows this help is entirely selfish. Shiori thanks him and admits she gets nervous around boys, also adding that she would do much better if he were her husband. Hearing this, Jiro grabs her hand and encourages her to do her best, only to get embarrassed and hide under the blanket. Meanwhile, Shiori heads to the kitchen to do the dishes, But when she returns to his room, she finds that Jiro has already fallen asleep. She leans in to kiss him, but stops at the last second as she feels guilty. She recalls that day she asked him to stay his friend, when in reality, she was in love with him back then too. However, Jiro could not see it, and she never got the chance to tell him because she moved away. Now that they're in the same school again, she hopes she can make things right. Soon after, Akari returns to the apartment and heads straight into the shower, but she can't stop thinking about Jiro. Suddenly, Jiro calls out to her from outside, saying he needs to talk to her. Firstly, he thanks her for sending Shiori over, as he got to live out his dream if only for a few hours, and because of that, he promises to do his best so she and Minami can end up together. Even though this is exactly what she wanted, Akari now feels annoyed about it because she's started to develop feelings for Jiro. The next day, during lunch, Akari asks Jiro if guys like girls who are family-oriented, but Jiro says he has no idea because he's never had a girlfriend. However, she insists that he give her an answer on what guys like in girls, so he mentions that every guy loves a girl who can cook. This gives her an idea on how to bag Minami, and she declares that Akari will help him. For the next few hours, they both spend time in the kitchen making an elaborate dinner, which increases their points too. By the end, she asks Jiro to taste test the food, and after taking a bite, he suggests adding some sugar to the rolled omelet. However, Akari believes Minami has a mature taste, so she tells Jiro to keep his suggestions to himself. The next day, she prepares him a tasty-looking lunchbox, and Kamo is jealous that he gets to have homemade meals. Just then, Akari arrives and asks them how the lunch was, and once again, Jiro tells him he would prefer more sugar in his omelet. This leads to an argument between them, which Kamo dubs a lover's quarrel. The following day, Jiro wakes up to Akari making breakfast for Minami, and it looks so good that it makes her tummy growl. Seeing this, Akari offers to let him taste it with her own hands, and this makes the guy blush as he bites into it. Once again, he finds the omelet bland without any sugar, but he chooses not to tell her. Soon after, she dresses up like a Barbie doll just to see Minami, as opposed to her casual trousers and blouse when she's with him. Suddenly, she goes all soft, saying she has a big challenge ahead of us, and she wants him to do his goodbye thing again, like he did that day. Remembering the kiss, Jiro gets flustered and asks why she would even want it from him, and she shyly admits that it made her feel safe the other day. Hearing this, Jiro decides to grant her wish, but unfortunately, the doorbell rings, and it's Shiori who apologizes for coming out of the blue. Jiro says it's fine because he's always home, and Akari jokes it's because this loser has no friends. Shiori then reveals she came to give them apple pies because she made extra, adding that she made them for Minami because he really likes sweet things. Hearing this, Jiro tries to mock Akari, but she already looks sad and embarrassed, so he lets it slide. Shiori then notices a cute lunchbox that Akari had packed for Minami, but Jiro says it's for him instead. As Shiori leaves, thinking how lovely Akari and Jiro are, Akari sits in the living room, all depressed. Jiro tries to cheer her on, but she says cooking is all she has to offer, and someone else beat her to it. Jiro has never seen her like this, so she tells her she has more to offer, like that goated gawk and her cheerful personality. He adds that she is not only smoking hot but also has a good sense of fashion, and any guy would be lucky to take her V-card. However, when he realizes how horrible that sounds, he quickly apologizes, but she doesn't react and quietly asks him if he finds her appealing too. Jiro nervously says he hasn't thought of it, even though he's busted to her countless times, but she calls him a liar and suddenly gets on top of him. Pinning him down, she asks if he's imagined doing it with her, but Bro's heart starts racing, and he begs for a timeout. Despite this, Akari keeps going and guides his hand to remove her plot armor, and even though his little sausage is cooked, Bro realizes this isn't right and stops her. He tells her plot making is for people who are in love, and he can't do it with her because she likes Minami. Noting that he also likes Shiori, she finally gets off him and politely says that they should stop this marriage couple thing. For the next few days, the two continue on with their lives like normal, but their points keep dropping every day. At the end of the month, the results come out again, and while Shiori and Minami are among the highest-ranked couples, Shiori is heartbroken because Jiro and Akari have dropped by a lot. Immediately, Kamo ambushes him in the toilet and demands to know why they fell off, but he tells her it's no big deal. Recalling that day they almost cracked, he initially thought she was making fun of him, but when he grabbed her hand, he felt her trembling, and now she believes she might have been serious. Just as he exits the toilet, he runs into Shiori, who asks if they can have a work in private. They both head to the school roof, where she asks him if something happened between him and Akari, and he tells her they had a fight because he misunderstood her. He wants to say sorry, but Akari doesn't seem like she wants to talk to him. Shiori reminds him that they literally live together, so it's not hard for him to find time to talk to her. She adds that she's known him since childhood, and he got this in the bag, which is exactly the push he needed. After thanking her, he heads home and sees that she's left food for him on the table. He also notices that their points have dropped to 0, so he knocks on her door and asks if they can talk. Akari opens the door and invites him in, but then she starts doom scrolling like he isn't even there. Despite this, Bro apologizes for the other day, but she tells him it's not his fault, and she was just trying too hard. When he insists that he is at fault, she curls up in her blanket, so he continues that he is, in fact, very attracted to her and has even busted a fat one to her. She interrupts him to remind him that he sounds like a nasty gooner, but Jiro adds that at that moment, it felt wrong to crack her because she was emotionally vulnerable. However, he feels even worse now that things are very awkward between them, and wants them to go back to being a married couple. Suddenly, Akari starts laughing, saying he sounds like a desperate simp before telling him that they're stuck as a married couple no matter what. She then holds his hands and tells him that she likes him a lot and enjoys their time together. She also asks if he feels the same way, so Jiro leans in to kiss her, but she puts his own hands in front of his face to tease him, reminding him that getting carried away in the heat is not. Even though she acts cool in front of him, once he leaves, she goes to the balcony and blushes over confessing that she likes him. The next day, Akari and her friends are talking about their crushes during gym class until the instructor scolds them to pay attention to the game. Meanwhile, Kamo notices that Jiro is staring at Shiori, but their attention is quickly diverted to Minami, who scores a banger. Seeing both Shiori and Akari cheer for him makes Jiro depressed, but Kamo snaps him out of it by mentioning a rumor circulating around Minami and Shiori. At the same time, Akari's friends also mention the same rumor, stating that Minami is not looking to swap partners. They find it weird because this exam is supposed to prepare them for a real marriage, and people should try out different partners to see what they like. However, Akari doesn't like the swapping rule anymore because it feels like getting divorced and finding new spouses. Seeing the sad look on her face, her friends start teasing her by asking her to marry them, causing her to throw a tantrum. Meanwhile, Jiro gets depressed again when he learns about the rumor, and Kamo cheers him on by saying Shiori is better off with an alpha male like Minami anyway. Hearing this, Jiro imagines Minami as a hero of an isekai who slays the demon lord, while he's just a level 1 crook who hides like a little wussy. After gym, Shiori approaches Jiro and asks why he looks like he has no will to live, guessing that he had another fight with Akari. Jiro tells her that's not the case, so she tells him not to give Akari too much trouble, as she's a good girl. At that moment, Jiro wonders what would happen if he told Shiori he loved her, so he asks her if she and Minami plan to stay together till the end. Meanwhile, Akari runs into Minami inside the gym storage room, but she gets so flustered that she backs into the shelf, which causes a box to fall on her. Luckily, Minami reacts quickly and pushes her away, but he ends up on top of her, which makes her flustered. Minami asks if she's hurt, but she tells him she's fine, more than fine actually, because even after everything that happened with Jiro, her heart races when she's around Minami. Ro then decides to head out, but she suddenly stops him and asks if he plans on staying with Shiori forever. Not understanding what she means, Minami says he's cool with it if Shiori is too, as they are getting along well. Hearing this, Akari immediately starts sobbing, but when Minami notices, she says she's got something in her eye. At this, Minami holds her face to look, but Kamo sees them from outside, and it seems like they're kissing. Outside, Shiori tells Jiro that she hasn't even thought about switching partners, and she can't do it without talking to Minami. However, she gets all shy and quietly says she will think about it if he and Akari reach A rank. Saying this makes her nervous, so she decides to skedaddle, but Jiro stops her and promises to make it to A rank so they can be together. Before they can finish, Kamo comes running in to tell Jiro about what he saw, but Jiro threatens to put his sausage in a grinder if he doesn't shut up this instant. Just then, Minami and a blushing Akari show up, and Jiro immediately senses the tension in the air. Minami then casually hands Kamo the key to the storage room before asking Shiroi to join her as they submit their practical form. As they walk away, Jiro notices the sad look on Akari's face, and seeing her like this breaks his heart. He approaches her to comfort her, but she walks away without listening to what he has to say. Later in class, he overhears Akari's friends saying she's gone home, so he decides to distract himself by playing video games. Just then, he notices Kamo snooping around, so he gets annoyed and asks him what he's doing. Kamo then tells him that he saw Akari and Minami kiss, but Jiro says he couldn't care less, even though he's jealous that Minami stole his main chick and the side chick. That evening, he returns home to find Akari lying on the couch. When he tries to talk to her, she does not respond, so he sits beside her and says he's sorry for not being as handsome as Minami. Hearing this, she asks him why he is mentioning Minami out of the blue, so he says he heard she and Minami had a moment in the storage room. Minami says they were just talking, but Jiro is under the impression that they kissed, so he calls for a celebration, even though he's heartbroken by it. Seeing this, Akari finally realizes the confusion and bursts into laughter, revealing that Minami was just checking her eyes for dust. She also states that her reason for being sad is that Minami is not looking to switch partners, and Jiro feels embarrassed for misunderstanding the whole thing. He tells Akari that she's doing really well and that Minami will eventually notice her, but she starts sobbing as all her efforts have been in vain. Seeing this, Jiro grabs her by the shoulders, but she tells him to let go and stop looking at her. Knowing she's embarrassed, Jiro pulls her into a hug, so she finally lets go and bawls her eyes out. Hours later, Jiro is stressing over always picking the worst time to show his affection. Just then, Akari steps out of the shower, all cheerful, and reveals that she's wearing Jiro's shirt, which makes him bust in his pants. After that, she grabs ice cream from the fridge and casually sits next to Jiro, which makes him flustered. He asks her to give him some space, but she teases him by asking how his little guy is doing. When Jiro says he's fine, she places her ear next to his chest and notices that his heart is racing. He asks her not to tease him and leave such things for Minami, but she diverts the topic and asks if he really thought she and Minami kissed. Jiro apologizes for believing it so easily, so she tells him no guy has ever kissed her besides him. Hearing this, Jiro completely freezes while Akari starts yapping about how he stole her first kiss. Even though he doesn't show it, he is really happy that he was Akari's first. The next day, while Jiro is heading out, Akari notices that his tie is crooked and starts fixing it like a proper housewife. However, when he starts staring at her peaches, she chokes him by the neck before giving him a gentle hug and asking him to be safe. Just when he's about to hug her back, she quickly detaches herself and walks away, telling him to take the trash out too. Later in class, he runs into Shiori, who reveals she's on class duty with him, and this makes her really happy, as they haven't done that together in many years. In reality, it was Mei's turn, but Shiori asked her to let her do it so she could spend some alone time with Jiro. Mei encouraged her to confess her feelings, but Shiori was under the impression that Jiro saw her as a friend. Mei told her to stop being an idiot because the guy is obviously in love with her, and he doesn't even talk to any other girl. However, Shiori believes that's part of the issue, as he's never had the chance to befriend any girls besides her. However, Mei told her to stop digging her own grave and just kiss the guy, or he might actually end up with Akari. This made Shiori fume up like a kettle, but Mei told her to be confident in herself as she's literally one of the main characters. Meanwhile, Akari is out with her friends, and as they talk about other couples getting along well, Akari says they're doing it just for the sake of grades. Her friends sense that she's saying this out of jealousy, so they start teasing her by saying they'll support her whether she picks Minami or Jiro. This makes Akari flustered, and she quickly tells them she's only got the hots for Minami, even though she goons every night thinking of Jiro. Later, Jiro and Shiori finally finish class duties, and all that is left is to clean the blackboard. With little time left together, Jiro brainstorms ways to talk to her, but his brain starts lagging like an old Android phone. That's when Shiori mentions that she ran into their old science professor at the grocery store, and Jiro says he always found that guy goofy. Just then, Akari passes by and decides to check on Jiro, but when she sees Shiori inside, she quickly hides and walks away. Meanwhile, Jiro's hand touches Shiori's hand while cleaning the board, and Shiori starts acting all shy like she wants it from the back. Before Jiro can process it, she asks him to close his eyes and lean down. Bro thinks she's asking for a kiss, so he starts pouting like an idiot, only to learn she just wanted to wipe the chalk dust off his face. She then acts cool and takes the erasers to the window, regretting not seizing the opportunity. That night, while Jiro is reminiscing about old times with Shiro, Akari joins him on the balcony and asks if things went okay with Shiori. Bro tells her nothing happened, so she starts teasing him for being a certified virgin. They then notice that the night sky looks really pretty, and Akari says it would look even better with Minami by her side. Jiro mockingly apologizes for not being as handsome as Minami until she randomly asks him to call her by her first name. Jiro says they're not there yet, so she calls him a loser and reveals she actually loves her name because it means light. She then adds that whenever she loses confidence, her name helps her spring back up, so if he called her by her first name, it would make her feel a lot better. At this, he finally calls her Akari and says her name suits her, only to look at her and see that she's already moist. She politely asks him to say it again, but when he says no, she goes on a rant because she always calls him by his first name. He asks what the big deal is, and she blurts out that she feels she's the only one in love. Suddenly, they both freeze to process what she just said, and Akari quickly retracts her statement, saying she was just describing a hypothetical situation. Jiro apologizes for jumping to conclusions, but she gets so flustered that she runs off into her room, leaving him confused. Unbeknownst to him, she has started developing feelings for him, and she's just as confused as him. The next day in class, the teacher announces that they'll have additional tests, and the scores of couples will be averaged. Immediately, Jiro knows that Shiori and Minami will ace their individual tests, but he'll get bad grades and face Akari's wrath. Suddenly, he asks himself if Akari is even good at academics because she always hangs out with her friends. After school, he decides to ask her, but she tells him to skedaddle as she's going to karaoke. Jiro insists that she pay attention to the test, but she says she's got this in the bag, but not really. Turns out, she's dumber than a rock, so Jiro suggests they head home and study, or they'll both be in trouble. She insists that she has to go with her friends, but Bro turns on his daddy mode and commands her to come home. Meanwhile, Shiori is studying with Mei at a cafe, who is good at sports but not so much at academics. She thanks Shiori for helping her, and in return, she teaches her how to French kiss, which makes Shiori flustered. Back home, Akari is losing her mind because she can't do basic math, but when Jiro encourages her to do hard, she leans into him and asks him to do her hard. Jiro's heart starts to pound, but he smacks her in the head with the notebook and tells her to focus on studying. He then notices that she's actually solved one problem right, so using that, he teaches her how to do the rest. After a while, she finally gets the hang of it, and after solving all the problems, she asks him if he'd like to 6 to 7 her jugs. When Jiro tells her to stop being a hoe, she suddenly climbs into his lap and asks if this is hoey enough for him. Even then, Bro holds himself back, so she presses her jugs into him and tells him it's okay if he takes a peek. All of a sudden, Jiro flips her on her back and gets on top, so she breaks character and says she was just teasing. However, Jiro starts getting freaky, and even though she did not plan for this, she lets him do his thing. Just when they are about to kiss, she notices that his nose is bleeding, and that's exactly why Bro is still a virgin. Later, she laughs at him for being a loser, while Jiro is glad for the nosebleed, or he'd be a father right now. Akari then asks why he's so desperate to score well on the test, and he says he's doing it for her so she can end up with Minami. Even though that is what Akari wanted, she can't help but feel sad because being with Minami means she would not get to have these moments with Jiro. Days later, Jiro notices that Akari has reverted to using his last name, even though she does not seem upset or sad. As she serves him breakfast, she fixes his bed hair and even shares a bag of chocolates with him, which she got from her friend. All of this confuses Jiro, as he doesn't understand why she's acting this way. In school, Kamo catches him asking Grok for relationship advice, but Jiro quickly denies it. He then asks Kamo if he ever fights with his fake wife, and he says they fight often because she doesn't talk to him and just shuts down. Just then, they hear a fuss nearby and start eavesdropping, only to learn that Mei is getting asked out by another girl. Since she prefers sausages over cookies, Mei politely turns the girl down and even embraces her to make her feel better. This fries Jiro's brain even more, so he goes out to touch grass while also thinking about why Akari is acting strange. Suddenly, he recalls she told him that calling her by her first name always cheers her up, so he decides to do that. That night, when Akari returns home, Jiro is in the changing room, but she kicks the door open to show him their midterm exam results. Turns out, they are in the top 10, and Akari is so happy that he jumps into his arms. Later, she uses a towel to dry his hair, and comments on his hair while using his last name. Just as she turns the hairdryer on, he starts calling her by her first name to see if it does anything. And lo and behold, Akari turns into a submissive housewife. Immediately, she starts calling him by his first name too, and Bro realizes all she wanted was for him to say her name. When she starts acting all shy, Jiro keeps calling her by her first name to tease her, and she's so annoyed that she turns on the blow dryer in his face. She then scoots closer and holds his hand, saying that she likes being called Akari, and even asks him to indulge her since they don't have much time left. Meanwhile, Mei sees that Jiro and Akari are in the top 10, so the next day, she meets Shiori and urges him to speed things up, or Akari will steal Jiro's V-card. When Shiori says it's not as easy as it seems, Mei gets annoyed and decides to do things herself. Just then, a football clashes with Shiori's face and knocks her out, sending her to the infirmary. Later, Jiro meets Mei, who informs him about the incident, urging him to check up on Shiori, which makes him flustered. Seeing this, Mei tells him to stop acting like a little wuss and forces him to see Shiori, but she's still annoyed that both of them are too shy to make a move. She then texts Shiori to let her know that Jiro is on his way, which makes her heart race. She quickly fixes her hair and puts on lipstick, and soon after, Jiro comes to see her. She greets him with a sweet smile, and when Jiro hands her a sandwich and water, he notices that she already has them on her table. Shiori reveals that Minami brought those, making him realize they get along well. Shiori notes that Jiro and Shiori must get along too, as they're in the top 10 again, but Jiro says he and Akari argue all the time. Shiori says she kinda wanna try arguing with him as well because even though they are childhood friends, she's never seen him angry. She says maybe she'll see his angry side if she were his wife, but she quickly clarifies that she's talking about marriage practical. She then gets sad about not having enough confidence around boys, and Jiro figures she hasn't gone to third base with Minami yet. She clarifies that they haven't even kissed because she doesn't love him. But even if she did, she'd be bad at it, and her partner would get sick of her. Hearing this, Jiro assures her that she's wrong and that her first time would be magical. At this, she reminds him that he promised to help him, so she has a favor to ask of him. She then says that she wants to practice kissing with him, but Jiro goes red and asks why him. She shyly responds that he's the only one she can do this with, and Jiro agrees to do it, though he adds that he's not good at it either. After that, they get in a position to make out, but as they bring their lips closer, Shiori suddenly says that this isn't right, and they should stop. Just then, Akari's friend Sachi walks into the room, but when she sees two shoes in the same booth, she assumes someone is making plot and leaves. Because of that, Jiro falls on top of Shiori and ends up kissing her. He begs her not to call the Diddy police, as it was a mistake, and she tells him not to worry about it. She then tells him that she needs to rest, so Jiro decides to leave to avoid the awkward situation. Meanwhile, Akari is texting Jiro when Sachi arrives and tells her she saw someone clapping in the nurse's office. Immediately, Jiro responds to her text, saying that he was in the nurse's office with Shijiri, and it makes her wonder if he finally got his sausage tasted. That night, when she returns home, looking all depressed, she finds Jiro sleeping on the couch. Immediately, she starts arguing with him for leaving laundry everywhere, not knowing that he's passed out from the chocolates Sachi gave her, because they had whiskey in them. Noticing the cups on the table, she realizes he must have been waiting for him, so she decides to remove her plot armor and lie with him, asking if this is what he did with Shiori in the nurse's office. She begs him not to leave her behind, promising that she will support his relationship with Shiori one day, but while she's still his wife, she wants him to give her all his love and attention. The next day, Jiro wakes up and is shocked to find Akari sleeping next to him. He then notices that she has her jugs out and screams, causing her to wake up too. Ro yells at her to put something on, and after she does, he demands to know what happened last night. Akari jokes that he tried to take her to La La Land last night, but Jiro does not remember it all and demands that she tell the truth. Instead, she asks him if it was his first time, and Jiro says it would be if they actually did it. This tells her that he didn't clap Shiori, so she tells him she was lying, and nothing happened between them. Ro screams at her for playing with his heart, and then lies down, covering his face while telling her never to joke about such stuff. When she asks if he wishes to clap her, Ro says he's disappointed they didn't do it last night because now she'll keep calling him a virgin. She then covers his ears, telling him that she would feel guilty about stealing his V card because she knows he loves Shiori. She desperately wants him to be honest about his feelings, but Jiro can't hear a thing because she's covering his ears. The next day, Jiro is hanging on the roof with Kamo, who asks if he and Akari had a fight because he ran here as soon as the break started. Jiro tells him nothing happened, but he can't keep Akari's juggernauts out of his mind. Meanwhile, Shiori is taking out the trash when she runs into Sachi and Natsumi, who notice that she alone can't handle this much trash. Just then, they notice Jiro and Kamo passing by, so Sachi tells them to stop being a waste of space and help Shiori. While Jiro starts blushing, Kamo happily joins them, especially when Natsumi offers to pair up with him. Sachi then asks Jiro to help Shiori, but Shiori gets nervous and instead asks Sachi to tag her, breaking Jiro's heart. Sachi finds it weird because most girls would go with a girl-guy pair, but when she sees Shiori's face, it becomes clear that they both like each other. Later that day, Akari is hanging out with her friends when Sachi asks Akari if she has any feelings for Jiro. Immediately, Akari starts to blush and fumble her words, and Sachi figures something is going on with her. After the girls encourage her to speak, she says she doesn't want to get in the way of Shiori and Jiro, so they offer her some words of encouragement. Sachi even says Jiro might have been like this with any wife, even if it wasn't Akari, and there's no reason for her to be sad. After Natsumi hugs her, Akari wears a smile to make them stop worrying, but as soon as she leaves, they start worrying about her again. She also acknowledged that Akari likes Jiro, but she hasn't had a decisive moment to understand her feelings. Just then, they spot a poster for the fireworks festival, which is exactly what Akari needs. A few days later, Akari asks Jiro to help her put a yakuta on, but Bro can't stop staring at her cakes. He asks why she's even wearing a yakuta, and she says she wants to be at her best for Minami, who will also be at the festival. This makes Jiro a little annoyed because Akari is always so relaxed around him, making him wonder if she sees him as a fruity best friend. She then asks him to pick a belt for her, which will make her look better, and Jiro picks one, though he's clearly annoyed about setting her up with another guy. After some teasing, she asks him to tie the belt around her waist, but as his hand touches her waist, they both go red like a traffic light. That night, Akari meets Natsumi and Sachi, who tell her she looks gorgeous. Natsumi also reveals that they've laid the groundwork with every guy except Minami so Akari can have him all to herself. However, Akari gets upset because now everyone knows she wants to get cracked by Minami. Sachi tells her it's chill because everyone already knows she's down bad for Minami, which is why no guy ever approaches her. She even asks her to be confident because she looks really good, but Akari can't push Jiro out of her mind, as he's the one who dressed her up. She wonders how she will manage her marriage practical with Jiro if Minami accepts her feelings, but regardless, she promises to do her best. Just then, the boys roll up and immediately apologize because Minami had to dip at the last minute due to some urgent work. Akari tells them it's all good as it's not their fault, but one of the guys, Terafune, suggests she accompany him instead so he can make it up to her. However, Sachi pulls him back and sternly tells him to bring food for everyone, thwarting his attempts to get cozy with Akari. After the boys leave, Natsumi is shocked that Terafune has a crush on Akari, so she asks Sachi to manipulate him into buying them sweets. Sachi agrees to it and leaves with her, while Natsumi is left wondering why she feels relieved that Minami didn't show up today, even when she put so much effort into seeing him. Regardless, she shakes the feeling off and decides to do her best since she is already here. Just then, she sees Minami rolling up, and it breaks her heart to see that he's with Shiori. As she freezes on the spot, her friends return and ask why she looks so depressed. She lies that her yakuta is too tight, so they suggest she go home since Minami isn't coming. This makes her feel even worse because she thinks Minami and Shiori will be hanging out together. In reality, Shiori had simply asked him to buy groceries with her, and they happened to pass through the fireworks festival since it was a shortcut to the supermarket. After Minami drops home and heads back to the festival, Shiori stands there alone, wondering if Jiro went there or not. Unbeknownst to her, Jiro is all alone in his apartment, getting jealous over Akari trying so hard for Minami. He wonders what will happen if Akari swaps him with Minami, and he concludes that they will go back to being regular classmates. Just then, he gets a call from Akari, and when he picks up, she's bawling her eyes out on the other side. Bro immediately leaves to find her, but she tells him she's sorry and hangs up, making the guy worry. As soon as he runs out of the apartment, he finds her sitting outside the door, and she apologizes for making him do so much work for her earlier. She keeps crying, but Bro slowly approaches her and wipes her tears. He then welcomes her home, so Akari throws herself into his arms and lets out all the bottled-up feelings. After that, they watch the fireworks from their balcony, and Akari says she got many compliments on her dress. Jiro suggests she take it off since it's uncomfortable, but she calls him a creep who just wants to peek at her jugs. She then asks if she looks cute, but Jiro says the ribbon bow would have suited her better, even though he's clearly obsessed with her. Seeing this, she places his hands across her waist and asks her to do the ribbon bow style just the way he likes it, which makes him flustered. After that, she makes him hug her from the back and asks her to call her by her name so she can regain her confidence. After he does so, the fireworks go off, and Akari thanks him for not asking questions. Jiro says he'll support her no matter what, but deep down, he feels happy that she came early. Days later, the monthly results of the practical come out, and Jiro and Akari drop to 13th place. Even though Akari is bummed, she quickly gets over it and looks forward to spending the next month with Jiro. Later, Jiro is in the bath, wondering what led to Akari crying on the day of the fireworks festival, and he never found out because she went back to normal after crying her eyes out. Just then, Akari barges into the bathroom in a towel and starts crying, which shocks Jiro. When he asks her what happened, she reveals there's a spider in her bathroom, and Jiro starts scolding her for making a fuss over nothing. However, she drags him to her bathroom and demands that he help her. After they put their clothes on, Akari latches onto Jiro's arm as they look for the spider, but when they can't find it, she drags him to the living room so they can have snacks. After a while, she gets a call from Nature, so she asks Jiro to accompany her to the toilet. As Bro waits outside, she asks him to cover his ears as she does her business. He abides while telling himself that girls don't poop, and after she's done, he goes inside to sniff her rose farts. In the meantime, Akari waits outside, cussing herself for making Jiro do this, and wishes she could disappear. She also admits that she is only this comfortable with Jiro, and if it were Minami, she would never be able to ask him such things. Soon after, Jiro comes out and extends his hand, but Akari feels disgusted, thinking he never washed them. After he promises that he did, she takes his hand and thanks him for staying with her. Minutes later, she is back to being a sassy girl, painting her nails and acting all normal. She then notices that Jiro is eating ice cream and asks for a bite, but he tells her there's more in the fridge. She says she wants a bite from his spoon, which makes him flustered, until she tells him to grow up and stop worrying about indirect kisses. She then politely asks him to feed her, and Jiro complies, which makes her really happy. She recalls he used to eat chocolate, but now he eats vanilla, which means they're getting more alike. As Jiro wonders if she's hit her head somewhere, she suddenly asks him what would have happened if they had met somewhere else. Jiro says they wouldn't have talked at all, but Akari is curious how they would have acted if they weren't forced into this marriage practical. She also admits that they don't have a lot of things in common, but Jiro believes that'll be the case for every other pair too. That's when Akari reveals that the pair in 5th place has started dating for real, so she asks Jiro if they should date too. Before Jiro can process it, she tells him she's just pranking and starts talking about her nails, but the damage has already been done. Jiro feels guilty for even considering it, while Akari believes they might have dated if he hadn't been in love with Shiori. Just then, she spots the spider on the curtain and jumps on Jiro, causing his hand to get squished between her drumsticks. Controlling his urges, he asks her to let go so he can deal with the spider, but she's so scared that she locks him into a chokehold. After a bit, Jiro deals with the spider and offers to buy a spray for bugs, but she says no. He asks what she will do if her next husband hates bugs, and she says she'll just call him to save the day. This makes the guy blush, so he decides to call it a night and heads to his room. Unbeknownst to him, Akari sleeps right next to her wall, so she can feel closer to him. Meanwhile, Shiori has trouble sleeping, so Minami joins her on the balcony so they can talk. She then makes a fake story of her friend who got reunited with her first love, but after they kissed by accident, they are unable to face each other. She says her friend is definitely in love with this guy, but she isn't sure if she should confess or not. Minami knows she's talking about herself and encourages her to do it before it's too late, even promising to help her if she needs it. Shiori says she's glad she got paired with him, and Minami advises her to ask the guy if he liked the kiss before heading back to his room. The next day, Mei asks Shiori to pick a hot outfit for her, and Shiori says she would look smoking hot no matter what she wears. However, even someone as confident as Mei has her insecurities, and she cannot make someone certain happy. Shiori says she will help her if needed, but Mei urges her to focus on bagging Jiro. Just then, Mei's practical husband, Terafune, shows up and tells him not to make dinner for him as he'll be out giving an interview for a part-time job. He reveals he'll be working at the same place as Minami, and Shiori feels better knowing the guy will have a friend there. He also says he'll be out all night with Minami, so he asks Mei to have a sleepover with Shiori. Since Mei swings the other way, she starts blushing and resisting, but Shiori insists that they do it, so she agrees. Later, they head to a cafe where Shiori asks Mei if she'd like to bathe and sleep together, which makes her choke on her drink. They start talking about childhood memories, and when Shiori mentions that all of her old pictures are with Jiro, which makes Mei slightly jealous. Just then, she gets a call from her mother, so she has to cancel the sleepover at the last minute. Meanwhile, Jiro is at another restaurant with Kamo, who got kicked out by his wife for apparently no reason. He also feels jealous that Jiro and Shiori accidentally kissed, whereas he hasn't even held his wife's hand. To take revenge, he decides to kiss Jiro, and Bro has to use every ounce of strength to keep him away. At the same time, Shiori walks by the restaurant, still thinking about the kiss, and when Jiro spots her, he thinks she's seen them and runs outside to tell her it's not what she thinks. She thinks he's talking about their kiss at the nurse's office and tells her it's fine. But once she learns he was talking about Kamo, it leads to a pretty awkward situation. He then offers to carry the bags with her, and as they walk, Shiori gets excited, saying this is how married couples do groceries. She then mentions what happened at the nurse's office, and Jiro quickly says he is sorry. However, she asks him not to apologize as she is the one who wanted to practice with him, and she learned a lot that day. She then thanks him for the lesson and leans closer, as if to kiss him, but they're both distracted by a cat in the background. She then suggests they head home, and Jiro realizes it'll be 3 years come summer since she returned. A few days later, the summer break starts, and Jiro immediately wonders what Shiori will do. Later, he learns of a live-in summer job at the cafe where his older brother works, and the cafe is short-staffed for a 3-day event. Not only did Kamo apply for himself, but he also sent an application for Jiro, which makes him anxious because he's not a very social person. Kamo is in the same boat, so when Jiro asks why he applied, he says he needs the money. Just then, Shiori passes by and notices the flyer in their hands, so she reveals that she and Mei also applied for this job. When she learns that Jiro applied too, her face lights up, and she gets even more excited to work. After she leaves, Jiro realizes that a live-in job with Shiori is exactly what he needs, and he starts imagining all kinds of scenarios with her. Jiro is looking forward to it, but Kamo reminds him that he needs to make sure Akari is okay with it too. He even says that Akari will bring some other guys home while Jiro is away, but when Jiro quickly jumps to her defense, Kamo finds it rather interesting. Later, Jiro returns home and is greeted by Akari and her heavenly peaches, leaving him completely baffled. As Bro feels weak in the knees, she mocks him for getting flustered over a mere swimsuit, but Jiro can't keep his eyes off her bazookas. Akari casually reveals she's planning to go to the beach with her hose, so she bought this today. She bought an extra one just in case this one doesn't look good, so Jiro shyly tells her that this one is a little too sussy. She then notices him staring and puts on his hoodie to make him feel like a creep. Jiro asks if she's going with any guys, so she asks him if he's feeling jealous. However, Jiro says he would prefer it if she were going with guys, because it's not safe for her to dress this way and go out. She tells him she'll be safe because it's for a live-in job over the weekend, which amuses Jiro since he also found a live-in job. At first, Akari is all playful, but when he tells her Shiori will be there too, her mood suddenly shifts. Even then, she acts all natural and wishes him the best of luck for bagging Shiori. Since this means they will be apart for a bit, she pins him down and demands that he say he'll miss her. Jiro tells her they'll meet after summer, but demands that he say it or she'll be mad. In the end, she becomes all shy and hugs Jiro, saying she feels lonely and needs to recharge. After she's done, she says she just wanted to stack up some practical points since they won't be seeing each other for a few days. Jiro then asks her to change clothes, which makes her think he doesn't like her swimsuit. In reality, Jiro admits he likes it a little too much, so she teases him by saying she'll wear the other one to the job. When Jiro starts to argue, she says she's saving this one for when she goes on a beach trip with him, making his heart race. Jiro then sees the flyer on her desk about the job, and that's when they learn that they're going to the same place. On the weekend, the whole squad arrives at the beach, and Shiori decides to do something about her feelings. Soon after, Minami takes them to their lodging place and explains that the place has been divided into parts for boys and girls. Later, as the girls put on their job uniforms, Mei believes she looks weird, but when Shiori assures her she looks cute, it makes her blush. After that, everyone is briefed about the job, and while Kamo is thinking of how to bag a shoddy, Shiori approaches Jiro and asks if he'll do the kitchen or the floor. Jiro would rather do Shiori, but he says the kitchen because dealing with customers is not his cup of tea. At this, Shiori shyly says she will pick the kitchen too, as she feels more comfortable working with someone she knows. Meanwhile, Akari is at the counter, and when Minami shows up to help her, it makes her cookie moist. Terafone, who also has a crush on Akari, sees this and feels slightly jealous. When Sachi and Natsumi try to catch his attention, he does not listen until Natsumi mentions Akari's name. Immediately, he looks at them, so Sachi tells him he's stupidly easy to read. Natsumi also mocks him for being in a love triangle, but Bro is confident that Akari won't end up with Minami. Meanwhile, Mei is helping Shiori with the prep, and Shiori says she's happy to have her. However, Mei knows she'd rather be with Jiro and encourages her to shoot her shot as soon as possible. She then asks Jiro to help Shiori grab something from the cupboard, as she's too short to reach. She then leaves them be and even stops Kamo from interrupting so the lovebirds can have some time alone. After that, they practice putting cream on desserts, but since it's his first time, Shiori advises him to be slow and gentle. Following his advice, he tries again, and Shiori keeps saying suggestive things in the background. Ro tries his best to stay composed, but when she buries her jugs into his arms, Ro can't hold it any longer and ends up creaming on her face. She gets embarrassed and asks him to wipe it off, but as he grabs her face, she starts making dolphin sounds. One thing leads to another, and the two are about to kiss, but at the last moment, Shiori sees Sachi and Natsumi at the door and screams. The girls apologize for intruding as they had to grab something from the kitchen, but after they leave, Shiori and Jiro decide to take it slowly as there's plenty of time left. After that, Kamo drags him to the beach for some fun time, and there, he sees that Akari is wearing a new swimsuit. He instantly remembers that she wanted to save the other one for him, and this makes him blush hard. Just then, Shiori and Mei join them, and Shiori says she'd like to do something with Jiro. She then points towards the hotel in the background, and everyone is shocked, thinking she wants to get backshots. In reality, She simply wanted to make a sand sculpture of the hotel, and Jiro is super embarrassed about his dirty brain. That's when Kamo tells him to stop being a wuss, because this is the first time they're seeing jiggle physics up close. As Jiro comes out of his trance, Shiori suggests they dig tunnels from each side and meet in the middle, like they used to when they were young. Jiro agrees to do it, and as their hands touch, Akari sees this from a distance and finds it annoying. Later, they all play rock paper scissors to make teams and divide chores, which causes Jiro and Akari to end up together to buy drinks. On the way, they notice that there's a big crowd, and Jiro assumes it's because they have a sale for couples. Immediately, Akari switches to her housewife mode and suggests they take advantage. Jiro, being a certified virgin, starts blushing, but she ignores him and heads to the counter to place her order. The shop owner offers a free size upgrade for them since they're a couple, but Jiro starts acting all weird. Afterward, she tells him to act normally so it looks more believable, like putting his arm around her and announcing her as his girlfriend. However, Jiro gets flustered and says such stuff isn't easy for him to do. When their number is called, he goes to grab his order, only to find Akari missing on his return. Upon searching, he finds her giggling with some other men, and she immediately calls out to him. As Jiro approaches, the guys start acting all flirty and touchy with Akari, which pisses her off because Jiro is not getting the hint. He simply tells the guys not to touch her, but they don't listen, as he hasn't told them they're together. Eventually, Bro gathers his balls and pulls her into his arms, announcing that she's his wife, so the guys apologize and run off. While Akari is shocked and blushing, Jiro immediately apologizes for lying to the boys, but it pisses her off even more because she wants him to claim her. She then admits that it was cool until he apologized like a wuss and ruined it. She advises him to use her as practice to man up, so he can do better when or if he finds a real girlfriend, which confuses him. She then starts pushing him to return to the others, but her real goal is to hide her red cheeks. That evening, as the girls get together in the bath, Sachi and Natsumi ask Akari about Jiro, and Shiori closely hears everything they say. Akari says that he's a virgin idiot, but he treats her with kindness, which matters the most. Mei chimes in and gives her own take on what matters the most, and Akari uses this opportunity to get closer to Shiori. Later, Akari stumbles into Jiro in the hall and notices that he is sunburned. She asks him to sit with her so she can apply sunscreen, but Jiro is shy and suggests she leave before others say weird things about them. Hearing this, Akari starts teasing him even more by tickling him before suddenly switching to her housewife mode and hugging him. She says he hasn't given her any attention since they got here, but before things get too freaky, Sachi shows up, and Jiro quickly separates himself from Akari. Sachi then asks Jiro to grab drinks for them, but when he asks Akari what she wants, she gives him a cold stare because he used her last name instead of her first. As she walks away, she sends an angry sticker to Jiro, demanding that he fix his mistake in 10 minutes. Later, Shiori notices that Akari is nowhere to be seen, and she also sees the boys looking for Jiro. Turns out, both of them are at the beach, and Jiro has some begging and pleading to do. When he keeps apologizing, she calls him an idiot for not even knowing why she's upset. She then removes her jacket and shows him the swimsuit she had reserved only for his eyes, leaving him shocked. She further says that he's too focused on what others think of them to the point that he becomes cold toward her, which is something she hates. Jiro wonders if she's jealous, but then he shrugs it off because he can't bring himself to think Akari likes him. When Akari says he must be embarrassed to be seen around her, Jiro says it's the opposite, as he doesn't deem himself worthy of her. Akari argues that it is for her to decide, but Jiro says he doesn't want people to get the wrong idea. Suddenly, she pulls him closer, telling him to stop breaking her heart and just look at her like he does when they're at home. She then grabs his face and shows him her jiggle physics, and Jiro wonders if she hit her head somewhere. He tells her to stop being a hoe and talk to him like an adult, so Akari admits she feels weird when he treats her like a stranger and talks to other women. She worries he'll treat her coldly even when they're home, and she hates that feeling. Jiro is confused by what she wants and notes that she sounds more like a jealous girlfriend, but Akari gets flustered and goes into denial. Before they can figure things out, they hear Shiori and Mei coming to the beach and quickly hide in the shed behind them. However, the space is too crammed, and Akari feels her heart racing as she's super close to Jiro in a hot swimsuit. She recalls the good old days when she only wanted Minami's sausage, but now it's so confusing because she's worried about Jiro leaving her. She knows that Jiro is solely focused on Shiori, which is why she also feels guilty about this. Suddenly, things heat up, and Jiro starts sweating, so when Akari pushes him back, they make a sound that scares Shiori. After she and Mei run away, Akari goes back to being a meanie and tells Jiro to stop staring at her jugs, but Jiro claims she was begging to be noticed 5 minutes ago. She tells him to keep dreaming, so Jiro gets annoyed and accuses her of using him like a toy. He also tells her he will keep giving her a cold shoulder since she didn't mean anything she said earlier. However, Akari starts sobbing and tells him that she hates him, but Jiro suddenly falls on top of her. She notices something poking her and assumes it's his knee, but Jiro apologizes as it's his third leg in full stretch. Shiori gets flustered and asks if this happened because of her, but before he can say anything, he passes out from heat stroke and falls on top of her. Soon after, they are back, and Jiro apologizes for everything, but she tells him to stop saying sorry, as it makes her feel worse. She then tells him that they should get to know each other better so they can be a better husband and wife, and Jiro agrees to it. Meanwhile, Shiori and Mei are on the balcony when Akari returns to the room and tells her friends that she was at the beach. Just then, Shiori sees Jiro taking a walk at the beach and wonders if he was with Akari. The next day, Jiro runs into her outside his room and realizes she looks really cute in her pajamas. Shiori wants to ask him about last night, but she decides to let it go and wishes him the best of luck in the kitchen. After that, Jiro heads to the bathroom to brush his teeth, where he runs into Akari, who immediately notices that he looks a bit down. She starts teasing him by saying he must still be feeling the effects of last night, which almost causes him to choke on toothpaste. She then tells him that it'll be their dirty little secret and heads out, making him wonder how long she will keep tormenting him over it. Later in the kitchen, Jiro tells Shiori they're having a test of courage tonight, and she immediately freaks out because she's terrified of ghosts. She even mentions that she heard some scary noises at the beach last night, which almost makes him drop the plate. Shiori feels bad for whoever gets paired with her, so Jiro says he'd be happy to accompany her since he already knows she gets scared easily. Shiori casually says she loves this kind side of him, only to realize it sounds like a confession and freak out even more. Jiro is taken aback, but he also acts normally until Shiori can't take it anymore and leaves to take out the trash. As Jiro is left wondering what she meant by love, Kamo suddenly starts smooching in his ear and then fights him because he's getting all the action. He then tells Jiro that Shiori loves his personality, which is different from being in love with someone. However, he wants to be Jiro's wingman since he believes the test of courage is where true couples are born. Thus, he proposes that they tamper with the lottery so Jiro can end up with Shiori. That night, the girls draw their lots, each with their own shape, and Shiori gets the one with a sunflower. She feels bad for whoever ends up with her, but Mei assures her that every guy here is decent, and she will be just fine. After that, she heads outside and meets Kamo to tell him which shape each girl drew. She asks why he didn't just mark 2 lots and have the lovebirds pick them, and Kamo says he wanted it to look like a coincidence from Shiori's perspective because she's too honest to resort to cheating. Hearing this, Mei realizes that he's nicer than he looks, and Kamo says she's also pretty nice for helping him. However, Mei feels slightly guilty because she has her own reason for helping Kamo. Earlier, Jiro had asked Kamo to pair Akari and Minami together too, because she's struggling like him, and he didn't want to be the only one to be given this chance. Thus, Bro gathers everyone at night to announce the pairs. Jiro and Shiori are one, Akari and Minami are another, Terafune and Sachi are the third pair, Kamo ends up with Natsume, and Mei is the odd one out. As the test starts, Akari starts screaming until Minami holds her hand to calm her down. She notes how different it feels from Jiro's hand, but she doesn't understand why he's thinking of that loser right now. She then decides to see the group chat to see how others are doing, only to realize that she dropped her phone. Soon after, as everyone else reaches the finish line, Kamo asks Jiro if he got his sausage tasted, but Jiro says Shiori was too scared to do anything. Everyone then notices that Akari and Minami have not returned, but when Terafune says he'll call them, Akari's hoes tell him to let them clap. Hearing this, Jiro feels annoyed but doesn't understand why it affects him. Just then, it starts to rain, so Minami calls to inform them that he and Akari got separated while looking for her phone. Since the beach is private, Akari is in no danger, but even then, Jiro tells Shiori to go back because he'll stay and look for Akari. Meanwhile, Akari gets lost and just gives up trying to find her way back. She feels guilty for always relying on Jiro, but even then, she hopes he will come to save her. Just then, she hears someone coming and calls out to Jiro, but it turns out to be Minami. At the same time, Jiro finds her phone and wonders where she went. Minami then takes her to a shelter nearby and calls the others to inform them that he'll return once the rain stops. Akari apologizes for causing him so much trouble, but he assures her it's not her fault. He then apologizes for finding her because she was expecting Jiro, only to laugh at her reaction. Meanwhile, Shiori returns with an umbrella for Jiro and tells him that Minami and Akari are together, so he can come back. However, instead of being relieved, Jiro feels sad that he didn't find her. He then takes shelter with Shiori and is shocked that she came all the way out just for him. Shiori says she got worried because he wasn't seeing her messages, so Jiro apologizes for causing her trouble. He also feels like a loser because he ran around doing absolutely nothing, but Shiori scolds him for selling himself short. She even admits to being a little jealous because Akari gets to spend so much time with him every day, but he says it's no big deal because he doesn't love Akari. He then asks if she's done anything freaky with Minami, but she gets flustered and says the only person she ever did anything with was him. She admits it was her first kiss and asks if he had kissed anyone before, but before he can respond, she gets flustered and is about to leave. Jiro stops her as it's still raining, so she hugs him and asks if he'd show her a side of him that he's never shown before. Meanwhile, Minami says he felt a bit sad because he's always seen Akari as his sister, and knowing that she sees Jiro as boyfriend material stings. This makes her realize he never saw her as a woman, but when he asks if he can ever change those feelings, Ro says no. He already knows Akari likes him, but he is in love with someone else, and it's not Shiori. Turns out, Bro is in love with a married woman, and he has no future with her. He feels relieved that Akari has someone she loves, but Akari asks him what she will do if Jiro loves someone else too. Minami advises her to try hard, so Jiro picks her, but she's worried about making things weird. Jiro assures her it'll be fine and encourages her to confess, which is something he never had the chance to do. Hearing this, Akari starts crying and thanks him for always being so kind to her, and Bro just comforts her like an older brother. She then promises that she'll confess to Jiro, not knowing that Shiori has already locked lips with Jiro. Later, when they all meet up, Akari notices that Jiro and Shiori are acting weird and figures something must have happened between them. Upon returning, she heads to a shrine to seek God's favor so she can bag Jiro. Meanwhile, Shiori is freaking out about the kiss and is relieved that they're in summer break, so she doesn't have to face Jiro. However, she also figures she was not Jiro's first kiss, and it must have been Akari. This makes her feel like a homewrecker, and she wonders if Jiro sees her as a childhood friend or something more than that. At the same time, Jiro is back home, recalling the events of that night and wondering if his first love fantasy will come true or not. After the kiss, Shiori kept apologizing and insisting that they head back, which is why Jiro is confused and doesn't know how to proceed. To distract himself, he heads to a bookstore to buy some manga, but as he reaches for a manga, someone else reaches for it too. It turns out to be Shiori, and after the awkward greeting, Shiori reveals she came here to fetch a manga for her younger brother, Kenta, who also wants to see Jiro. Since it's the last copy, Shiori asks Jiro to have it, but he insists that she take it, which makes her happy. After that, they decide to meet Kenta, but it starts to rain, and they have to wait since they don't have umbrellas. As Jiro struggles internally on what to say to Shiori, she asks him if he wants to come to her place because she wants to talk to him. Jiro agrees to come, and once they reach, she makes him wait outside while she tidies up the apartment. She then comes back and greets him like a housewife, only to get embarrassed because it was super silly. As Jiro settles in, she brings coffee and sits next to him, but it's obvious from her face that she's flustered. Afterward, they both start reading, and Jiro covers his face using the manga to hide his excitement. He also starts staring at Shiori, so when she asks why, he says he is curious as to what she is reading. She tells him it's a romance novel, after which she heads to her room and looks at herself in the mirror. She wonders if Jiro is getting bored, and she forced him to come, not knowing that Jiro is also wondering the same thing. He's always known Shiori to be the submissive type, but the fact that she initiated the kiss still shocks him. Just then, Shiori excitedly returns and takes him to the balcony, where they see a double rainbow. She then pulls her phone out to take a picture and asks Jiro to come into the frame. After she clicks, Jiro asks her to send it to him and also decides to talk to her about the kiss. However, she suddenly shows him a group picture they took at the beach, and Jiro sees Akari's happy face, which throws him off. Because of that, he decides not to talk about the kiss and simply watches the rainbow with Shiori. Upon returning home, he gets confused as to why he stopped because Shiori is someone he's been in love with for years. Just then, his phone starts buzzing, and he assumes it's Kamo sending him goon material, but it turns out to be Akari. She tells him she's bored, and when Jiro says he's too, she asks him to meet at the station in 2 hours and calls it a date. Immediately, Jiro starts glitching because he never expected Akari to even acknowledge his presence, apart from the marriage practical. He wonders if she's just messing with him, but on the chance that she's not, Jiro decides to go. Once there, he waits 20 minutes for her, but she doesn't show up, making him think she stood him up. Just then, Akari comes running in and apologizes for being late, saying she forgot her phone and had to run back. She asks if he's upset, But Jiro says he's not because he never expected her to show up in the first place. This immediately pisses her off, so Jiro explains that they never do hangouts, so he didn't see it happening. This annoys her because she told him it was a date and even put so much effort into her dress. She then asks if she looks cute, and Jiro nervously tells her she looks good. She then reveals that she got this dress only for him because she knows he likes such stuff, and this confuses Jiro because she's always worn casual clothes around him before. Then suddenly, she grabs his hand and drags him to the cafe, and Jiro has no idea what's going on. At the cafe, they each buy sundaes, and when Shiroi tastes the one Jiro is having, Bro gets flustered over an indirect kiss. After that, they head to the cat store where Shiyori starts petting all the cats, and Jiro wonders if she's hinting that she also wants her kitty petted. As they continue exploring different places, Akari reveals she asked the store lady to take their picture. Seeing this, Jiro says they look like a family with the cat as their baby, only to back off, thinking Akari will be pissed. However, Akari acts pretty normally, and even says she wants to keep a pet during their practical. After that, they head back to the station to go separately, which makes Akari sad because they've been living together for a while. Suddenly, she recalls she forgot to buy a charm at the shrine and runs off, but Jiro chases after her, and they both end up running into Shiyori. Akari causally tells him she took Jiro out to give him some sunlight, and now she's headed to the shrine. This reminds Shiyori of the time they met at the shrine before the marriage practical, so she suggests they race there. Akari takes her up on the challenge, and as they run up to the shrine, they pass by two young lovers playing in the park. Next up, they see a couple kissing, and after that, they pass by a church where a marriage is taking place. They see another couple with a newborn, and then another with a grown-up daughter. Eventually, they reach the shrine, and as they catch their breath, an old lady comes to check up on them. Afterward, she calls her husband by the name Jiro, and as they walk off, Akari comments that the guy seems like their very own Jiro. Just then, Jiro catches up, and they all make a wish at the shrine. At the end of that month, the practical results come out, and Jiro and Akari reach 4th place, while Minami and Shiyori reach 3rd, meaning they can swap partners if they want. That's the end of the video. Who do you ship Jiro with? Let us know in the comments. If you want to see more, watch this video on screen.